Hey, what's that chart have to do with the housing market up here in Northeast Florida or anywhere in Mac? Well, I'm going to tell you, it does have something to do with the housing market, and I'm going to explain it to you tonight, because this show here is Bubble Watch, and it is the best housing market weekly show in Northeast Florida, covering the Jacksonville metro area. Something else I'm going to cover tonight, I'm going to show you all this. I'm going to be looking at what is the current active listings up here in Northeast Florida right now out of the MLS, how many sold in the last 7 days, how many homes are under contract, how many new homes sold in the last 7 days, what is the current active new home listings, how many active listings are foreclosures, how did people pay for these homes, what percentage of homes sold under list, at list, and above list, and much, much more. And I'm also going to touch base tonight on all this stuff you've been hearing about, you know, what's changing in the real estate market for buyers and sellers. And that's coming up here August 17th, okay? Maybe, okay? I mean, right now it looks like it's on schedule. Hey, you know what? My name's Tom Kerr. I'm just a regular guy, happens to be a real estate agent up here in Northeast Florida. And what I do is I take you into the back end of my MLS every week. I've been doing it now for over 2 years. And we look at all that data. And so right now, let's start off going into the back end of my MLS and look at those active listings. All right, here we are in the back end of my MLS account. This is Northeast Florida MLS. And what we're going to do is look at these active listings first. And what I want you to focus on, because as I go through all the different statuses here, the results are going to show right here in this section. It says view results. So watch for that number and that will be it. And then after I get all this data, I'll download it also. And we're going to pull even more information than what I'm showing right here in these stats, because once it's exported to an Excel spreadsheet, I can pull a lot more out of it. All right, let's start off with those active listings. That number is 9,569. Okay, next we're going to look and see how many sold in the last 7 days. That number is 666, and that is what we're going to export that data. So now we'll export it, and then I'll pull that up when I do my regular Excel sheets. Okay, next we're going to take a look and see what is active under contract. Well, yes, let's see here. That number is 1,333. Okay, next we're going to look at, now those active under contracts, those are the ones that have contingencies. So they went under contract, the agreement was signed, and they got a contingency either for waiting for the inspection, the appraisal, financing, or, you know, selling another house, anything. All right, now after the contingencies are met, they go into pending status. So let's see how many went pending in the last 7 days. That number is 358. And when you add this, the pending and the active under contract, then you have the total under contract. All right, next we're going to take a look and see how many people withdrew their listings in the last 7 days. That number is 86. Now, withdrawals are still active listings. They just can't be shown. And sometimes, you know, people are doing repairs on the home. They don't want people in there while they're like tearing up the floors or something, maybe replacing a roof. Also, sometimes some people are sick, you know, and during COVID we had a lot of that, and then you just couldn't show the house until it was clear. All right, next we're going to take a look and see how many expired in the last 7 days. That number is 292. Now, they are different than the withdrawals, because expires are the ones that actually didn't sell, and so they're off the market. Their listing agreement expired. All right, next we're going to take a look and see how many new homes sold in the last 7 days. That number is 182. Okay, next we're going to see how many new homes are in active inventory. That number is 2,298. Okay, now I take a look and I look at, in the active listings, I look and see how many are statused as foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, and short sales. So we're going to start off with those foreclosures. That number is 227. Next we're going to look at how many are in pre-foreclosure. That number is 20, and how many are short sales? That number is 36. All right, now I'm going to take all that data, as you say, and it goes into an Excel spreadsheet that's going to look kind of like this, and it's hard to read. So what I do is I clean it up, I put it into my own Excel spreadsheet so you can follow from previous weeks and year over year and get the real numbers. That's right, because we're looking at the real numbers in real estate. We're not looking at all that scary stuff and all those scary YouTube videos out there, right? So we're going to do all that, but before we get to that, let's check out those rates and see what they did this last week. All right, here we are looking at the rates, the 30-year fixed rates, and we're going to start off at the bottom. For all the different rates, we're going to be starting off here at the bottom and then looking at the top, and we see the green arrows and red arrows on the sides. So last week we were at 6.91, ended up at 6.62, so more green arrows. All we had was that one arrow for these, and it was a very minor red arrow, but the rest were greens. Again, going in the right direction, 6.62. Man, that's getting down there. And when you do some of these rate buy downs from these new home builders, it's really getting you down. I'm seeing some that we're getting below 5%. All right, let's look at the FHA because they're generally less. Okay, here we see the FHA. Last week we were at 6.38. Now we had two red arrows here, so it was a little more mixed, but we still ended up 6.13. Man, we're getting closer to that 6. All right, is it going to continue? Okay, we'll see next week. Let's check out those VA rates. All right, VA rate, same thing. Couple of red, some green, so we mixed it up a little bit. Was at 6.4 last week, and at 6.15 this week. So again, them also going towards that 6. All right, we still got a mixed bag of, red arrows, green arrows, all that, hopefully it'll straighten down, start going with the down arrows, okay? Now we're gonna look at that Excel spreadsheet, and for those of you that are new to the show, I do this out on location in front of a new home, and the new home I'm in front of right now is gonna be featured in my Sunday night show that comes out at 7 o'clock on Sundays, Florida Home Showdown. So check that out. All right, now let's go look at those Excel spreadsheets. All right, here we are into my Excel sheets where I clean things up. Now, of course, I always go over this because we get a lot of new people to the show every week. So I'm going to show you right here in the yellow columns. This is the current weeks. All right, we're right here. Season 3, week 12. That's this one here that we're focusing on. So those are the numbers there in the yellow. Now, right off to the right, those are the numbers from a year ago. See, season 2, week 12. And then YOY is the year-over-year difference in percentage between the two. Now over here in the light blue column, SFH, that's single family homes, where I just started a couple weeks ago, pulling those numbers out by themselves. So you can see right here, week 12, season 3, are those numbers. Now, you look at the ones before, and then of course we could scroll back, all that, and this is where I've got all my data going actually all the way back when I started the show there. You can see May 19th, 2022. I've been doing the show every week. And, I just want to mention, I guess I'll mention it right now, especially to the people that are new. A lot of you already subscribe to the weekly newsletter, but this Excel spreadsheet that I use on the show is available to download from my weekly newsletter, and that comes out every Tuesday. Although this last Tuesday, we had a hiccup in the system. We're trying to correct it. It didn't go out. It was a major failure. I may get it out by the weekend. I don't know. If not, we'll just do another one on Tuesday. But also my MLS sheets for the houses of the week will be downloadable too in that weekly newsletter, and you just send me an email telling me you want to be put on it, and that's it. All right, let's get to these numbers here. Season 3, week 12. All right, our current weeks here. Homes active listings, 9,569. That number dropped. Okay, we actually went down. We've been going up, now we went down. Homes sold, 666. All right, now well, all right, does it, to some people that might mean something, but to me it means that the homes went up more than they were last week at 512. Okay, that they were. All right, active under contract, 1333. All right, so that number went down. Okay, pending, okay, 358. That number went down. Total under contract, 1691. So that is a pretty good drop from the previous week. All right, homes that withdrew, 80 286, okay? Homes that expired, 292. Now, this is a pretty good jump, okay? So that's probably why our inventory active listings dropped so much here, because this went up so much. But look at this. This is spooky how these numbers are. Look at, you know, last week where we were, 159, then the year before for week 11, 129. This week we jumped up 292, but also look at last year at this time, we jumped up. So it's strange. All right, new homes sold, 182. Exactly the same amount as last year, okay, exactly. But this is an increase from look at that, from last week. And the new homes active listings, 2,298, so the inventory has gone up. Now this orange number here is the percentage of homes sold that are new. And look at that, okay, we've gone up, all right. Now we're at 27.3, so over a fourth of the homes sold are new. And over here you look at the single family homes, when we pull that out, and it's just about a fourth. All right, now we take a quick look here at the condos and see how they compare with everything else. Active condos went down to 1137, the same amount sold, 44. The percentage of actives that are condos has been dropping. We were holding in the 12s for the longest time. Now, last week we dropped to 11.94. Now we're at 11.88, okay? So it's just not as many of the total population there of units for sale are of condos. And we're going to do, soon coming up here, we're going to have the Excel spreadsheets for the condos. How did people pay for these homes? All right, we're seeing right there almost a fourth cash, okay? Conventional still strong at 41.74. FHA up a little bit there to 18.47. VA dropped slightly, and others went up, okay? So we can see the cash actually has dropped down from the last couple of weeks. All right, let's look at those foreclosure numbers. These are the ones that are in foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, and short sale status of active listings. The pre-foreclosures that are in the status, 227, pre-foreclosures 20, short sales 36, a total of 283. That number has been going down, okay? Last week dropped, and it dropped even more this week. Homes that sold for $500,000 and above. This is the percentage of those homes. Well, nope, this isn't. We're not there. This is the percentage of homes that sold under list, at list, and above list. All right. The percentage that sold under list, pretty close to the same, 72.52. Homes that sold at list, about the same, and homes that sold above list, about the same as last week. Almost identical numbers there. Now, I will tell you this, okay? The ones that sold above list, the amount they're selling above list has dropped significantly from what it was. So technically, you got some here that are, $1,000 or less above list. They fall into this, algorithm here of what we've got above list as far as the percentage, but the dollar amount is definitely a lot lower, and that's the biggest impact now. All right, now we take a look. Homes that sold $500,000 and above, 30%, okay, up a little bit. Homes that sold in the 400s, still in the 13s. Homes that sold in the 300s, up some to over 26.5. Homes that sold in the 200s, that also went up. And then homes that sold below 200 dropped this week to 9.61. And if you look over here on the right, you see how many of the new construction homes were in those price categories. 51 of them, 500 and above, 21 in the 400s, 68 in the 300s, 41 in the 200s, and 1 below 200. So that 300 range is still the sweet spot there. And I featured some of those homes, new homes in the 300 range, on my Sunday night show, where I feature some new homes. All right, when we look at new construction now, we look at the ones that sold under list, at list, and above list, and we're seeing there under list jumped up a little bit there to almost 70. Homes that sold at list dropped a little bit, and homes that sold above list also dropped slightly for this week. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is what is called look at MLS Advantage. And what that is, that everything we've looked at now has been the Northeast Florida MLS. That's the biggest MLS up here in Northeast Florida, and that's the one I belong to. There's other smaller MLS boards around this area and some of these other counties, and they cross-sell. Now with the internet, everyone cross-sells. Hell, I even sell stuff down in Hollywood and, you know, and other places in Southwest Florida myself, okay? So what I do is I look at this MLS Advantage with the sold numbers, everything in the 9-county, okay, Jacksonville metro area here, and we put that, all that total together. Then what I do is I break it down by counties, the sold by counties, because a lot of people like to see, okay, what's St. John's doing? What's Duval doing? What's Clay County doing? And we show all that in this MLS Advantage. So right now I'm going to break it down with that. And something, you know, I made a comment, you know, about like, you know, watching these YouTube videos with doom and gloom. I get a lot of calls from people about this show. They call me asking me questions and all that because they say this is the only show they see out there that's actually showing them the real numbers weekly up here in this market, and they appreciate that. And that's what I do. Now I may not get 100,000 views because I'm not telling you everything's going to crash. However, if it did crash, I'd be showing it on this show. Hey, you know what? I'd like prices to go down too, because the more the prices went down, then the more people would buy homes and I'd do better, you know? So, but you know, that's just the way it is. All right, let's now look at that MLS Advantage. Okay, here we are in the MLS Advantage back end, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at those 9 counties that make up the Jacksonville Metro. Some people say 7, but I say it's these 9. All right, we've got Baker, Union, Bradford, Clay, Nassau, Duval, St. John's, Flagler, and Putnam. And now what we're going to do is hit that search button right here and see what numbers it gives us. Okay, that number is 945. All right, as we saw, we had 945 total there. So how did it break down by the counties? And here we see Baker County had a jump up from last week. So we had 7. Union County had a goose egg. Bradford came up a little bit there to 5. Clay County showed an improvement, 96. Nassau to 75. Duval County had a good jump to 313. St. John's had a really good jump, okay, there to 295. A lot of new construction there in St. John's though too. Flagler County up slightly there to 133. And Putnam actually fell from 29 last week to 21 this week. Okay, now I'm going to look at the condo stats here. I'm going to go through these kind of quickly here, but you know, I've been doing it for a little while, so like we see 22 weeks now, so let's just go briefly over it. Active condos, 1137, and you can see the week before and the other weeks where we were at. Sold's 44, same as last week. Active under contract, up just 1. Pendings fell down a little bit to 18. Total under contract dropped to 154. Withdrawals at 11. Expireds at 53, so we saw a jump there. No new condos sold and 10 condos active, and that's a weird, I don't know those new ones. Last week it wasn't on the MLS, this week it is, so it could have been taken off and then put back on for whatever reason, okay? All right, how did people pay for these condos? All right, 59.09%, same as last week, was cash. Conventional was 29.5%. FHA, about 4.5%, VA 4.5%, and others over 2%. All right. When you look over to the right to see how it all breaks down, 26 of them were cash, 13 were conventional, 2 were FHA, 2 VA, and 1 other. All right, we take a look at the foreclosures on them. 24 in foreclosure status, 0 in pre-foreclosure, 1 in short sale, so we had an increase in 1 to a total of 25. All right, here we look at the condos that sold under list was over 90%. Condos that sold at list, 9%, 0 above. So over here the numbers work out. 40 of them were under list and 4 at list. Okay, here we look at the condos that sold for 500 and above. As you see, 15.91 the same. Condos in the 400s up, double from last week. Condos in the 300s, okay, that's up to 22. Condos in the 200s dropped dramatically from last week down to 22.73. Condos that sold below 200,000, and that dropped also, so 25% there. We see how the numbers work out on the side. 7 for 500 and above, 6 in the 400s, 10 in the 3, 10 in the 2s, and 11 below 200. And same as every week, nothing new with the new, so we move on. All right, here we take a look at, the amount of condos sold at the particular stories and height of the complex. This isn't the total stories of the unit, but it's the whole complex, because the new law regulates those that are 3 stories and above have to comply with this new law of keeping reserves for maintenance repairs. All right, 8 of them were in the 1 stories, 19 and 2, 10 in the 3, 4 in the 4, 1 in the 5-story, 1 in the 6-story, 1 in the 9. All right, now I just do this just to see if, because of that law with the 3 stories, if there was going to be any more increase in the lower stories versus the upper stories, and haven't seen it yet. All right, because that law also states, 25 to 30 year for the age of the condos, we look back at what year these condos and what the stories were. So these are the individual condos. So you see 1986, there was one in 1986 that was a 1-story, another one was in 1973 was a 1-story, one was in 2005, another 1988, and so on. And I'm just going to scroll down so you can look at that. You can pause it as you'd like. Okay, what counties were these condos sold at? All right, we've got here Clay County 3, Duval County 26, St. Johns County was 12, Flagler 1, and Nassau had 2. There's our total of 44. Okay, this next chart here shows us what the original price was, what it sold for, that's the close price, and the difference. So it's basically, this is the ones that sold below list. So I'm showing you how much below list they sold for, and I'll scroll down and you can pause it as you please. All right, now I'm going to take a look at that graph and see what it is and explain it to you, and how does it fit in with the housing market. Hey, you know what? If you like the way I put this show together, give me a thumbs up. I'm not saying if you like those numbers. I know a lot of people don't like the numbers, but if you like the way the show's put together, give me a thumbs up. I have a lot of other videos on my channel that you might be interested in watching, plus this comes out every Friday, so if you don't want to miss any of the videos, then subscribe to the channel and be part of Bubble Watch Nation. All right, now let's look at that chart. All right, so what is this chart? We see it has a peak and we see an extreme drop off and an extreme rise, okay? So what is it? All right, this here is the delinquency rate on single family residential mortgages, okay? Now what is so special about this is the years that this happens. Here we look, here's 2008, that big 2008, remember? And the real crash, okay? And look at how the delinquency rate shot up. I mean, almost a straight line. Look at that. Then it stayed up here, okay, for a few years, all the way to 2012. Okay, 4 years, pretty high. Then look at the drop. Okay, didn't drop as fast, but it was a big drop. Okay, now. Here we started having some more delinquencies here, a little bit of a shot up there, probably the COVID thing, 2020. But then, of course, we had the forbearance and everything else. Look where we're at right now, right here. Okay, there it is. There's the rate. Now, look at the difference in this chart between this spot and this spot. And now, granted, look how fast it went up, okay, from 2008 right there, the first quarter, to the first quarter of 2010, 2 years. But I don't see it right now. You see, am I missing something? Because supposedly we're crashing right now. We're headed for a disaster. Are we really going to go this extreme in this short a time right now with the way everything? But this is telling you why. Right now, the delinquency rate has gone down, okay? I mean, look at it right here, what it says, 1.71. The only time it was lower was in 2005 when it was really bad. But look at all these other years. We're way below all those other years, okay? And then of course 2005 things were really crazy. They were worse than they were in 2021. But I just don't see it. I just don't see that happening. And this is what's contributing, I mean, to what you're seeing as far as the prices in the homes. I mean, we're not getting that flood of homes in the market from people being delinquent and having to sell. Okay, you are getting some of that. And we've even seen the foreclosure rates have started to drop some. So I'm just not seeing it, but that's why I show you. I'm just a regular guy that just looks at these charts here, okay? I don't have, a college degree in economics, okay? I'm not an accountant, but I'm just looking at these charts here, just trying to figure it out, okay? Because I see all the other videos that you see about how bad everything is, but here where I'm at, here in North Florida, I just don't see it. Now, this is a national graph, so I didn't want to confuse that with just being North Florida. Yeah, well, like I said, I don't see it. I don't see 2008 right there, or 2010, or 2012 right now. I mean, it looks like a long way to go, and I just don't see us heading that way. All right, let me talk now a little bit about what's going on with the real estate industry as far as buyers and sellers. I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard it on the news. There's a lot of fake news, and I'm just going to basically just brief over some of it. When I have a customer, that's a buyer or a seller, I sit there and I go through a thorough, orientation on how the process works, and especially what's going on with all these new rules that are coming out here in August, okay? And that's if it follows through. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff going on in court, but pretty much they're saying August 17th and when all this starts. So let me give you it in kind of a nutshell. All right. What they're saying, you got people saying, buyers are saying, oh, buyer's got to pay for the agent now. Buyer's got to pay for the agent. I ain't paying for an agent. This is the problem here. It's Florida. Florida is one of a handful of states that really hasn't used a buyer agreement. It's always been there to use. It's just practically nobody uses it. Oh, you'll get some realtors I know say, oh, I always have used it. Yeah, well, okay, most of them don't, okay? And if you ask around the buyers, they have never signed one, okay? Now, listings have an agreement, right? You have a listing agreement to sell the house, but buyers never really had one. So now what is required? If you want to look at a house, the agent has to you have to sign the buyer's agreement with the agent if you're going to have agent representation. If you're just going to go on your own, well, that's, now, an open house, yeah, you can look at that open house. I said, but if a real estate agent's going to be working with you at all, helping you with purchasing it, you need to have a buyer's agreement. And these buyer's agreements have to be signed before you start the process with looking at these houses, okay? Now, what do they say? In them, they say that you are going to pay your agent so much, either dollar amount or percentage of the sale, for the representation. Just like any other, professional service, nothing's done for free. You've probably seen where people have said, oh, as a buyer, it doesn't cost you anything. My services are free. Well, you know what? They're not allowed to say that to begin with, and it really never really has been that way. Someone's always paying for it, okay, one way or another. Now, in that agreement, it's going to say that you pay for it. All right, but this is the thing. You're hearing that sellers are saying now, well, I don't have to pay the buyer's agent. Why would I want to pay the buyer's agent for somebody that's, negotiating against me? Well, you know what? Because you're marketing a house. That's right. Okay, it's your house. You're living in it now. It's your home. You're all happy. You got the memories and all this and that. I understand. But as soon as you put it on the market, it becomes a commodity. And it's out there, and it's a house for sale, and that's it. You're on the market. Now, to promote it, okay, and to bring buyers in and agents, since agents get paid by commission and the agents bring the buyers. And in fact, this channel, this YouTube channel, I get a lot of buyers, okay, that call me, wanting to look at houses, okay? So we bring the buyers. Now, if that seller is not going to comp, a commission to the person bringing them the buyer to sell the house, then there's a less chance that their house is going to be shown, okay? Now, we're not allowed to, weed out the ones that can't you know, that aren't going to give anything like that. But now things have changed in that they can give a concession. They cannot put in the MLS how much they're paying the buyer's agent, but they can give a concession. Now, what we do is we'll find out, okay, when I'm showing houses with buyers, you know, is this one given a concession? Because what's going to happen is that concession is going to pay my fee, and you aren't going to pay it directly out of your pocket without that. It does come out in that the seller will be giving you, the buyer, credit, okay, and then you transfer that to me or to any other agent, whoever you're using for the buyer's agent. So that's how it's going to work, and then there's a lot more that gets involved in it, and I don't want to go turn this whole show into that because it'd turn into a 2-hour movie. But when you know, work with me, when we first meet and we talk about it, I explain everything in detail to you. I also explain to you the buyer's agreement, how it all works, and if you're a seller, then we go over that side too, and the seller's agreement. And if you don't pick me initially, if you'd like to work with me, well then, you know, put me in the mix and see what I have to say compared to another agent if you're interviewing several agents. And if you're looking to buy or sell anywhere's in this area, you know, this is my information right here to get in touch with me. You know, I'd be happy to help you. I work with a lot of people from this YouTube channel that call me all the time. All right, now we're going to get into those houses of the week. Speaking of buying and selling houses, this is where I look at a house that's sold below list, a house that's sold above list, condos also. A lot of times we haven't had a condo that's sold above list, so we're missing that. And we're going to look at that and see what they paid for it, you know, what they sold it for, the appreciation on it, and a whole lot more. So let's go to those houses of the week right now. All right, we're starting off here first with the house that sold below list price. House built in 1995, 2,795 square feet on just over a quarter of an acre, which is nice. 3-bedroom, 3-bath, okay? This one is in Duval County. All right, let's take a look at the history. Okay, we see that they started off on this house at $1.1 million, all right? After just, let's see here, 22 days, they decided to drop it just under $1 million. Okay, now the theory usually on this is because people searching for houses will look, they're so close to $1 million that, you know, they probably missed a lot of people searching for it, because some people stopped at $1 million, so I ain't paying anything over $1 million. So they went down. So they went to $999 to capture those people up to $1 million, okay? After 64 days on the market, then they ended up getting an offer for $765. Now at that 64, they had lowered the price to $860, so that offer was based on a new asking price of $860. Okay, we look in here how much per square foot, and it was like $273 a square foot that worked out to. And they did give $5,000 in concessions also on top of that to buyers' closing costs. All right, we can see here what they paid for it and the old history. $555,000 back in 2004, okay, June of 2004. Let's put that into an appreciation calculator. Okay, we see there they had it for 20 years and got 1.61%. Okay, appreciation. That's not very good, okay? Now, I'm thinking they got caught in the crossfires of two things going on. Maybe like where they're at right now, the prices dropped a little bit on the houses, but also 2004, right there, that 2005, 6, that era there, people were overpaying a lot for properties, and they could have overpaid for this one back then. Okay, next we're going to look at the house that sold above list price. Okay, this house here was built in 2012, 2,690 square feet, okay, over a quarter of an acre. 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, good size house. All right, nice house. Okay, this one here is in Clay County. Okay, we look at the history on this. They started out at $429,000, okay, and then in 10 days they raised it to $482,000, okay. Right after that, and 13 days, okay, they got an offer for $486,500. Okay, we look here and we see that this one sold for $180 a square foot, which seems pretty good for everything they got. But not only, well, let's see. Okay, they they sold it above, okay, but they still paid out $13,000 in concessions, okay? That was quite a bit. And this did go VA, okay? So even though they went above, it still had to appraise. Okay, we look at this and see what they paid for it. Back in 2022, they paid $464,000, okay? So, wow, think about that, $464, and then they started out at $429. They had to have had to sell this. Okay, when we put this in appreciation calculator, they had it just for 2 years and got 2.25%, okay? So they did get something out of it, okay, but it came close. Okay, next we're gonna look at the condominium that sold below list price. This one was built in 1997, just over 1,000 square foot. Okay, total stories is 3. Okay, so this has those 2 things going against it, the age and then also the height of the complex. All right, bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. All right, and let's see over here, we'll look on the side. The monthly on this is $636, okay, a month. All right, now, of course, I don't know if they've already got the reserves and everything taken care of, but because this falls under those condos that are affected by the new law, that 636 could really change. Okay, let's look at the history on this. Started out at $495,000. Okay, you see they've lowered the price a few times here. Well, let's see, $495. They lowered it once to $484.9, and after that, they did get an offer for $435. Decided to take that and run with it. Okay, that works out at a bargain of $416 a square foot, and they only gave $250 in concessions for repairs. Okay, well, it looks like the condominium person did better than these other houses, okay, because they had it for, over 10.5 years and got 6.59%, and that's with this bad condo climate right now. So they did okay, and they were glad to take that $435. Hey, if you've got questions about buying or selling anywhere in the state of Florida, then just give me a call, okay, or shoot me an email here. Hey, you know what? Let's see, we're in season 3, and this was week 12. It is now in the can, okay, this way. The can's over there, and until next week or until Sunday night, I'm out of here.